Good afternoon. We're with Dr. Janet Spriggs from Forsyth Technical Community College. Dr. Spriggs, welcome to InnovATEBIO. This is the National Center for Biotechnology Education, and we are sponsored by the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Division. And one of our goals in this particular grant, which is based out of Austin, and of course us at Forsyth Tech are great partners of this, is to create a leadership institute. What we've noticed is over the past several years, people have grayed and retired. And a lot of what has happened is a lot of good, intelligent information has gone with the people as they have retired. So one of the things that we've noticed that would be very good for the future is to make sure that we have good succession planning. And so we're just very, very excited to have you today to have a dialogue with you. And with me today is Purnima Rail, who is my colleague from Austin Community College, who actually manages InnovATEBIO. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
So we're just going to ask you a series of questions, if we may. And, as I've noticed, and I'm your employee, so I have really noticed in the last couple of years, as the 7th president of Forsyth Tech Community College, what an excellent leader you are. And I say that with all sincerity. And so I would just like to guide you through the first question, if I may, Dr. Spriggs.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background, your career? And one of the things that I've noticed, Dr. Spriggs, in your career is that you actually had an industry career before you went to academia. Could you just speak to us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. And let me first say thank you so much to both Russ and Purnima and to the whole organization for the opportunity to be here today and talk a little bit with you about leadership. And thank you for your kind comments, Russ. I appreciate that very much. You're right, I did. I started my career in working in industry for about 14 years before I joined my first community college. I actually worked at a few companies, spent 12 years working in the field of technology at a major telecommunications company in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. And so that was a wonderful experience for me. I met my husband there. I grew professionally there, learned an awful lot about my subject, telecommunications, and I finished my bachelor's degree while I was working there in computer information systems. So I have a lot of experience in industry. And then in 1996, my husband and I were making a move for our family. We were relocating to the coast of North Carolina. He was going to be working at Cherry Point Marine Air Station. He's an engineer, and he was going to work there. And I had this wonderful opportunity to be able to build a new department at Carteret Community College. So they hired me as their director for institutional computing. And basically in that role, I was building an IT that they had pretty much, this was a long time ago, 1996 doesn't seem quite so long ago for those of us of a certain age, but it was quite a period ago now. And so things were a lot different with IT, and IT had pretty much in the college been managed by the IT department that taught programming and some other IT things to the students, and they had pretty much managed it. And basically the college had realized that they were outgrowing that model. They needed a team focused specifically on information technology, and so I built that team there. I will say that when I walked into Carteret Community College for a few days there, I did feel like I might have been dropped on Mars. It's very different coming from business and industry and a corporate environment into a community college. I will say, however, that I also felt like very, very shortly after coming there, I felt like I definitely had found my purpose. I had made it to where I was meant to be. And I say that with all sincerity, and I think that's really important. I tell people all the time that the greatest thing you can do in your life is to find your purpose and live it with passion every day. And I think that's what happened when I got to Carteret. So I started out there in IT, but I was asked to teach a course for continuing education. And that's where I discovered my love of being in the classroom and being able to see the difference in such a tangible way that you're making in people's lives. And so I taught part-time, decided to go back and get a master's degree in instructional design. I loved it so much. That led to many opportunities. I also, while I was getting that master's, got almost all of my MBA credits, and was in the right place at the right time when a really nice promotion came available. And I was named Vice President for Administrative Services and the Chief Financial Officer. And I got to work in that role at Carteret, doing some really wonderful things for 10 years after that, until there was an opportunity for me to move to Rowan Cabarrus Community College, which put me a little bit closer to my children, who by that time had grown up and moved out, and got me closer to my family. And it was just a great growth opportunity. While I was working at Rowan Cabarrus, I decided I wanted to be more closely connected with students, and I went back and started working on my doctorate, and eventually became the Chief Operating Officer and the Chief Student Development Officer there. So that kind of paved the way for me to start thinking about whether or not being a college president was the right opportunity for me. And I think it was the right thing, the right pathway forward for me. So since January of 2019, as you know, Russ, I have been privileged to be the president here at Forsyth Technical Community College. And I think it is absolutely the pinnacle of my career and my dream come true. I tell students all the time that becoming the president here was me achieving my dream. And now my new dream is that I will help all of them find a pathway to their dream. So that's a little bit about my career and how I made it to Forsyth Tech and to this role.
Well, Dr. Spriggs, I got to tell you, you covered all the bases. And I mean, you know, that must have been an excellent partnership, you know, between you and your spouse and your family going through, and to have made such dramatic changes in your life to get to where you wanted to go. So I think we would all say that that's part of being a leader, isn't it? But I wanted to reflect a little bit, because this is a leadership program that we've purposely taken to really not duplicate what goes on in the community college system. We know that there are fine programs. In fact, Forsyth Tech has an excellent leadership program.
Yeah.
So what we really wanted to do was to take it from an industry perspective, really give these people that are coming into this program, to challenge them a little bit, to get them to sort of see what it looks like from an industry perspective. So I have a question to pose to you, which is, do you find that your experience, your 14 odd years working in industry, reflect in your day-to-day operations at Forsyth Tech, in your thinking?
Yes. So that's a great question, and I think it absolutely does. You know, I think that leadership itself is somewhat dependent upon the industry that you're in. But then again, there are so many components of being a good leader that are important no matter what industry that you're in. And so for me, I think there's a huge stigma also that surrounds higher education sometimes. And if you're working in industry, you may not understand this, but if you've ever been, you know, in a community college, and if you've been someone coming from industry to a community college, my comment about feeling as if I'd been dropped on Mars, there's some pretty profound differences between the two worlds, if you will. And so for me, I think that sometimes in higher education, there's a huge stigma about higher education, community colleges, universities are not businesses. And I understand that to a degree, because I think there's great importance and great significance in the foundational elements and the traditions of higher education systems like what we have. I think that, you know, these systems have existed for hundreds of years, and there's an importance to respect and remember the traditions of inquiry and discourse, intellectual pursuit, and, you know, that whole transmission and discovery of knowledge that is part of higher education. I think, however, it is also vitally important that we remember that change is constant and that everything evolves. And I think that higher education is in the midst of evolving. to meet the needs of a 21st century society. You know, things are different now than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And sometimes we're stuck in trying to hold on to things that, regardless of what industry you're working in, or whether or not you're working in a community college or a university, you try to hold on to the things that are comfortable and the things of the past. And so I think that one of the things that I brought most from my time in industry is that my experience working for a very large global telecommunications company, a company, Russ, that was actually a Canadian company, but that was worldwide, you know, and we had 9,000 employees, and we were a little bit less hesitant to move forward a little more quickly. And so one of the things that, you know, I brought with me is this willingness, I think, sometimes to challenge the status quo when, you know, we're not necessarily the best at doing that in a higher education environment. And so that was one thing that, to some people's consternation, I'm not sure that everybody is always excited that I have that, you know, desire to recognize change as a constant, and that you know, mandate to always be trying to strive for excellence by not being forced to stick with what has always been done just because that's what's always been done, but being willing to change. And I think that comes directly from my experience in industry, that openness to be able to change. I think also that another thing I brought with me is this understanding of how businesses work, that while I want to stay out of the classroom, right, I want to leave the faculty to the business of respecting those traditions of higher ed and building the curriculum and exchanging that transmission of knowledge and the discovery of knowledge. I want to leave that to faculty. But at the end of the day, this is a business. We still have to be able to understand how the revenues work and how the expenses are tied together and how the models for all those come together. And I learned invaluable lessons from my time in business around that. When you are, you know, we are a state-supported industry and a nonprofit institution. And so that's a very different model from business and industry. But some of what I learned in business and industry really helps me be, I think, a good CFO back in the day, a good chief operating officer, and eventually, I hope to be a good president. So I think that, you know, my experience in industry, to just kind of sum up your question, is invaluable in who I became as a leader in higher education. You build upon everything that you learn throughout your life. And I certainly tried to bring the good with me and maybe leave behind some of the stuff that I thought wasn't so good.
Incredibly comprehensive answer, and I want to thank you. I just want to turn it over to Purnima now. She has a couple of questions for you.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russ. Dr. Spriggs, thank you. As Russ introduced, I'm from Austin Community College in Austin, Texas. And I do want to say that Austin Community College has been in association with the Aspen Institute, and that's what my question is based off of. Our college has been named one of the top community colleges in the nation by the Aspen Institute for its excellence program, for the commitment to strong improving student outcomes, and, you know, basically reviewing the learning completion and employment rates, earnings, all the various important aspects. And then, as most people know, Aspen Leadership Program is aimed at preparing the next generation of community college leaders to transform the institutions across the nation. Well, I mean, the same aim, right? Helping students to have that success in college and in workforce. We understand you are an Aspen Institute Fellow. Could you please tell this group how this experience has affected you and what it has done for your leadership style?
Yes, absolutely. What a great question. So I'm very humbled and honored and just extremely grateful to have had the opportunity to be named an Aspen Fellow. I actually had this incredible opportunity twice now. In 2018, I was one of 40 community college leaders named to the Aspen Rising Presidential Fellowship. And then again this year in 2020, one of the 25 inaugural fellows named to the new President's Fellowship. That's a brand new fellowship program that Aspen has put out. And both of these programs have given me just an amazing opportunity to be surrounded by incredible, extraordinary, accomplished and seasoned presidents and other leaders within higher education. It's a program that is done in connection with Stanford Educational Leadership Initiative, which is an established program at Stanford University. And the curriculum really does center on those broad themes that are so critically important for all of us in community colleges today. Russ mentioned that in the industry, we see lots of graying, right? Where folks are, there's going to be some significant changeover in the years to come with people retiring and new people coming in. And so succession planning and that idea of being able to build the leadership capacity and the strength that the more than 1,100 community colleges in this country are going to need as that occurs is critically important. So I learned so much about the work of excellent community colleges and how to be a leader that is focused on equitable student success strategies, that's focused on leading cultural change and partnering for collective action, which are big, broad themes of both of those programs. And really also understanding a little bit better how to take strategic risk appropriately, how to set a bold vision around advancing equity and student success for all students. What it has done for me as a leader, I think, to answer your question, is it's exposed me to so many of those invaluable opportunities to learn the latest on all these topics and to sit and have just critical conversations with people who have experienced this transformation that we're really undergoing in community colleges. We started out all these 60 or more years ago as access institutions. We were built to provide access to every student. And then we realized that just giving people access is not enough. You also have to make sure they're successful. And now we understand that success is not enough by itself, that we need to be looking at what happens when our students leave us. And those insights about marrying those three components, access, success, and post-graduation success, has just been invaluable to me. And it's helped me learn how to really lead for transformation with urgency, but at the same time, learning how to balance pace and balance patience so that in this need to be urgent around this work, we don't lose our people that we're trying to bring with us on the journey.
Wow. I know that these are trainings and these are the programs that have given exposures, but combining it with an individual with that passion and insight definitely gives us a lot of hope.
Yes.
We're in good hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to go on to another question I do want to ask you. This is actually honing in on the current situation of 2020, how the world has transformed quite a bit, where we have seen lots of colleges that have really been able to pick up and move forward, and at the same time, many colleges are going through troubled times. My question to you, Dr. Spriggs, is this year, as turbulent as it is due to the pandemic, as a president of Forsyth Technical Community College, what has this experience taught you and how to govern?
Wow, that's a great question. And so it certainly has been a year, has it not? I think that it's taught me so much that it's really kind of hard to know where to start. One thing that has been remarkable for me personally has just been the resiliency that community colleges, I knew we were resilient, but I think we demonstrated that resiliency in some remarkable ways through this pandemic. We do get sometimes stuck in the way we've always done it. And the pandemic forced us to recognize that this is something that we've never experienced, thankfully, before, and hopefully we won't again, but I have a feeling that we'll experience whatever the next thing is at some point. And so I think what I've seen is that we've built upon that resiliency in some new and exciting ways where hopefully we will go into the future and not lose this feeling that it is possible, that we did the impossible. At Forsyth Tech, within 2 weeks, we had over 90% of everything that we were doing online in a virtual format. And that was just remarkable and extraordinary. And so I think that that's one of the things that it's taught me, is that people will rise to the occasion, and that as a leader, what you have to do is be on that journey with them in a way. I've been calling it the 4 C's. You've got to stay calm, which helps to keep everyone else calm, and in that calmness, I think you're inspiring and you're motivating and you're helping people to see that we can do this and we can do it together. I think you've got to stay confident. You have to, again, keep people, keep telling them over and over and over in any way that you can find that this too will pass. We will get through this. We will learn some things from it, and there will be silver linings at the end. We'll come out stronger on the other side together. I think you've got to be courageous. You cannot stop your mission. We could not let students get behind through this experience. And so that's one thing I've learned, is that no matter what you are faced with, you can find a way to pull together and keep your faculty and staff moving forward for the good of the students, to make sure the students don't lose momentum, and to make sure that we are not forgetting that at the end of the day, pandemic or no pandemic, we still have a mission, we still have a vision, we still have a strategic plan that we have to stay focused on. And then finally, I think that you've got to be compassionate. And I'm hoping that I've learned a lot about empathy and compassion through this experience that we will take into the new world, the next new normal that we're going to create together. So that's just a few things. To be honest, I think every day this pandemic is teaching me something else new. And hopefully now we're starting to see that there are some things we've learned that are going to be really good things for us to not stop and to keep moving forward and keep doing, even after the pandemic is in the history books and not part of our everyday life.
Well, thank you so much for answering that, Dr. Spriggs. The 4 C's, I took notes. That's very inspiring leadership from you. Very hopeful. Thank you very much. Russ?
Yes, and Dr. Spriggs, I just want to let you know that Purnima actually has just taken a Leadership Institute program at Austin. And
oh, wonderful.
So she is, and she is a biotech lady, science, and she teaches there. And she actually, I keep telling her, you're going to be perfect for this Bioscience Leadership Institute. You got to join us. We're just finishing up. Dr. Spriggs, I wanted to ask you one more question, if I may. This question is, I think, very pertinent to what the Leadership Institute will do. And it really is, what do you think these young leaders in these emerging technologies, need to be cognizant of in terms of when they move into leadership positions?
Very, very good question. So, I started out, as I told you at the beginning, in my career in a technical field in information technology or computer science back then. It's much different. I could not do that job today. Things have changed and evolved so very much. But I did start out in that technology field, in a technical job or career pathway. I was an engineer. And being an engineer, working as a professional in that role, I knew how to lead the work that I was doing. I knew how to be a leader leading place, right, within my job. But I didn't understand leadership, right? Leadership is all about people. It's all about motivating and inspiring. and supporting people in a way. So I think that what I would say is when you're moving from a professional field job, a technical field job, or any job that you've got a professional role and responsibility that doesn't involve leading people, and you want to move into leadership, you have to study. You have to learn what leadership is all about, and you have to understand who you are as a person and how you connect to leadership, what style or styles of leadership speak to you, and are you best prepared to move into. I think that sometimes I had a husband who was an engineer. I have a husband who was an engineer. He's retired now, and he tried leadership, and it wasn't for him. He didn't like the aspects of leadership that I'm so drawn to, which is that part of being with people and motivating and inspiring. So I think it's about learning that you have to know the tools, understanding how to learn to empower people, how to give them the tools and the strategies that they need, but then be there to empower them and get out of their way, quite frankly. That's hard sometimes for us when we move from being the ones doing the work to being the ones leading the work. You don't want to get out of the way. I want to dive in and help you with that. And you can't do that as a leader. You've got to learn how to provide the support and the encouragement and the resources and whatever else it is they need. But you've got to get out of their way and let them empower them to do the job. So I think I'll sum it up this way. I'll paraphrase John Quincy Adams. If you are considering moving into leadership, take the time to, number one, I always believe in, set your goals, build your pathway for where you're trying to get. When I decided I wanted to be a college president, I had to say, okay, this is what I need to get me there. Build a plan and work the plan. And part of that plan is understanding who you are, understanding leadership, and remembering these words from John Quincy Adams. He said that leaders, and I'm paraphrasing, to be a leader means inspiring others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. And I think that's the best advice that I could give, is that just prepare yourself for what that means and be ready to be able to do that for your people.
Well, I think that's pretty incredible. And Dr. Spriggs, I want to thank you on behalf of InnovATEBIO today, which we think is, a great center for biotechnology education across the U.S. and perhaps beyond. And I want to thank the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Division. But most of all, thank you for your time today and also your insightful ideas regarding leadership. And I'm one of your employees, and I just want to say that, I want to reaffirm that, I've seen incredible dynamism come from you, and I think I've actually told you on occasion that you inherited a title from people at Foresight Tech. Might be this person, I don't know, but you're a huge energizer, and you're obviously connect so well. I've learned so much from you under your leadership because you actually have this incredible ability to remember everybody's name that you come in contact with. And I'm just frankly amazed by that. But more important is these, you've had to make some important strategic decisions. And I think that, for those of us who come from an industry background and we've come into the college, it speaks very, very highly to the way you think about problem solving. And so I just want to tell you that we're very grateful that you came today and spoke to the group. And I'm sure that when we play this for our people that are taking the Leadership Institute, they will be very, very thrilled to have done this interview with you. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Russ. I appreciate that. You have told me that on so many occasions, and I have to tell you, I try to encourage and inspire people every day. It's always nice to be encouraged and inspired a little bit too. And you do that for me. And I appreciate that so much. And I think that the InnovATEBIO, I think it's wonderful. I hope that it is not just nationally, but that it does extend out globally. That's important for us in the 21st century to remember that we are a global society. And so whenever I can ever help you, let me know. It's been my privilege to be here today. I hope I didn't talk too much. And I very much enjoyed meeting Fornina and Russ, being able to spend some time with you. It's always a joy. Thank you.